The pavement screamed with every step. Each stride sent jolts of pain shooting up his legs. His worn-out shoes, held together by sheer willpower and a prayer, offered no solace. The interview was in 15 minutes. He couldn't be late. Not today. Not when the rent was due, and his stomach rumbled with the memory of yesterday's stale bread. He spotted a pawn shop on the corner, its neon sign flickering like a beacon in the urban gloom. A desperate hope flickered within him. Maybe, just maybe, they had anything to ease his plight. He pushed open the creaking door, the bell above clanging like a death knell. He approached the counter, his voice hoarse as he spoke. "Man with old shoes. Shoes, do you have any shoes? My size." The old man behind the counter, his face a roadmap of wrinkles and time, looked at him with calculating eyes. "Pawn shop vendor shoes, maybe? What kind of shoes you need, mister?" He hesitated, the weight of his situation pressing down on him. "Man with old shoes, I have an interview. I need something presentable," he mumbled, ashamed of his own desperation. The old man disappeared into the shadows of the shop, his footsteps muffled by the dust-laden rugs. He returned moments later holding a pair of shoes. The man's breath hitched. They were unlike anything he'd ever seen. Crafted from a leather so dark it seemed to absorb the dim light of the shop. They were stitched with an intricate design that shimmered with a faint ethereal glow. "Pawn shop vendor. These are special. From a faraway island. Voodoo magic, they say." He reached for them, captivated by their strange allure. The leather was cool to the touch and the glow pulsed faintly as if alive. He slipped them on. The pain in his feet vanished, replaced by a strange energy that throbbed up his legs. He felt powerful. "Man with old shoes, how much?" he asked, already knowing he couldn't afford them. The old man simply shook his head. "Pawn shop vendor, consider it a gift. But remember, every gift has a price." He walked into the interview room a changed man. The shoes, radiating their peculiar energy, seemed to infuse him with an aura of confidence he'd never possessed. He sat taller, spoke with newfound eloquence, his eyes gleaming with an almost unsettling intensity. The interviewers, initially skeptical of his worn-out appearance, were captivated. They hung onto his every word, their eyes drawn to his shoes, mesmerized by the subtle, pulsating glow. He felt invincible, in control, as if success was no longer a distant dream, but his for the taking. The interview ended with promises of a follow-up call, their faces flushed with excitement. He walked out. The city streets no longer a source of despair, but a canvas of possibilities. He had the job, he could feel it. The shoes had made him irresistible. He returned to his cramped apartment. The weight of the pawnbroker's words, "Every gift has a price," echoing in his mind. He shrugged it off. He had a job, a future. What price could be too high? Sleep, when it finally came, was a restless affair. The city's usual symphony of sirens and shouts was punctuated by strange whispers that seemed to emanate from the shoes themselves. He'd jerk awake, heart pounding, only to find silence. The shoes sat innocently by his bed, their glow dimmer now, almost imperceptible in the darkness. He tried to dismiss it as a trick of his sleep-deprived mind, but a seed of unease had been planted. It grew with every muffled whisper, every flicker of the shoe's ethereal glow. The morning brought a call from the company. He had the job. Excitement warred with a growing sense of foreboding. He looked at the shoes, their glow intensifying as if fueled by his triumph. He had what he always wanted, but at what cost? Shoes? Ours now. We made you successful. You belong to us. He froze, his blood turning to ice. He tried to kick off the shoes, to rid himself of their insidious presence, but his feet wouldn't obey. He was trapped. Panic clawed at his throat. He was a prisoner in his own life, his success a gilded cage crafted by the sinister magic of the shoes. He tried to reason with the voices, to bargain, but they only laughed. A chilling, hollow sound that echoed in the confines of his skull.
"You cannot escape us. We are bound to you and you to us. Defy us and face the consequences."
He went about his days in a daze, his life a blur of meetings, deadlines, and forced smiles. The shoes, once a symbol of hope, became a constant reminder of his servitude. He yearned for freedom, for the blissful ignorance of his former life, but the voices held him captive, their threats a constant hum beneath the surface of his thoughts. He tried to discard the shoes, to leave them behind in some forgotten corner of the city, but they reappeared in his apartment as if by magic, their glow pulsating with silent menace. He was trapped, bound to the whims of the entities that resided within the stitching of the cursed shoes. He was a puppet, dancing to their tune, and the price of his success was his very soul. The first time he tried to defy the shoes, it was a simple act of rebellion. He decided not to wear them to work. He chose his old, worn-out shoes, the ones that had carried him to that fateful pawn shop. His feet ached, a throbbing reminder of his previous desperation. He ignored it.
Didn't pay your rent, did we?
That afternoon, his landlord appeared at his desk, a sneer twisting his lips, brandishing a notice to vacate. The words swam before his eyes. His newfound success meant nothing without a roof over his head. The shoes, he realized with a sickening certainty, had orchestrated it all. The next attempt at defiance was more subtle. He wore the shoes but tried to ignore the voices, to block out their insidious whispers. He focused on his work, on the tasks at hand, pretending the voices didn't hold him captive. At the checkout counter of the grocery store, his blood ran cold. His wallet was gone. He patted his pockets, his heart hammering against his ribs. Nothing. He had to borrow money from a stranger, the shame burning like acid in his throat. The voices chuckled, their amusement a sharp, discordant symphony in his mind. Section 8, The Price of Freedom, a sudden illness. He tried to reason with them, to strike a bargain. He would wear the shoes, he would succeed, but they would leave him some semblance of control. The voices remained silent, their amusement replaced by an icy indifference. The following week, he was struck down by a sudden illness. The doctors were baffled. His tests came back normal, yet he was racked by fever, his body racked with chills. He lay in the hospital bed, his career, his life slipping away. He knew with chilling certainty that the shoes were punishing him for his defiance. Section 9, The Price of Freedom, a missed connection. He tried to seek help, to confide in someone. He went back to the pawn shop, but it was gone, vanished without a trace, as if it had never existed. He told his story to a co-worker, a friendly face in the corporate jungle. She looked at him with a mixture of pity and fear.
You know, I really want to believe you, but it just sounds so unbelievable.
He never saw her again. He was isolated, alone, trapped in a nightmare of his own making. Section 10, The Price of Freedom, a false accusation. His desperation grew with each passing day. He tried to destroy the shoes, to burn them, to cut them to shreds, but they always reappeared, pristine and whole, their glow mocking his futile attempts at freedom. Then came the accusations. Money missing from work. Confidential documents leaked to competitors. Whispers followed him like shadows, poisoning his reputation, turning his dream job into a nightmare. He knew without a doubt that the shoes were framing him, orchestrating his downfall. Section 11, The Price of Freedom, a burning desire. His spirit broken, his life in ruins, he made a decision. He would free himself from the curse of the shoes, no matter the cost. He filled his bathtub, the porcelain gleaming white against the grimy tiles. He held the shoes in his hands, their glow pulsating ominously. He flicked open his lighter, the flame a tiny beacon of defiance in the encroaching darkness. He would burn them, and himself with them, if that's what it took to break free.
You think you can escape us? Foolish mortal, you belong to us.
As the flames licked at the leather, a wave of icy cold washed over him. The voices screamed in his mind, their rage and fear palpable. And then, silence.